Welcome back to Crafted Nest, a place where ordinary things find extraordinary stories. Today, we'll discover how simple plastic bottles can be transformed into heartwarming garden decorations that breathe life and joy into every corner. It's a journey of creativity, sustainability, and inspiration, where each idea feels close, real, and possible for anyone to try at home. Stay with us until the end. And if you enjoy these inspirations, don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest. That single click helps us grow together and continue sharing ideas that turn the overlooked into something beautiful. Sometimes the most ordinary things carry the secret of transformation. Imagine a garden where playful animals live not in cages or barns, but inside the gentle curves of a recycled plastic bottle. With a touch of paint, a pair of scissors, and a heart full of patience, a bottle that once held soda becomes a penguin with determined eyes. Another bottle, painted with soft black patches, suddenly finds itself reborn as a happy cow with daisies blooming from its back. There's something magical about creating these creatures. The moment you give them eyes, they seem to return your gaze, as if whispering their gratitude for being saved from a landfill. Children adore them, visitors smile at them, and even the wind seems to play more joyfully around their painted bodies. The best part is how simple they are to make. Cut the bottle carefully, paint it with bright acrylics, and let your imagination guide the design. If you love cats, shape the ears from bottle scraps. If rabbits are your favorite, a fluffy tail can be added from cotton. Flowers, herbs, or even small succulents grow easily inside, making these planters not only decorative but also practical. Over time, the garden feels less like a collection of plants and more like a lively community. Each animal-shaped planter holds a story of rescue, of creativity, of joy reborn from waste. When neighbors stop by, their eyes sparkle with curiosity. Did you really make that from a bottle? And you nod with a smile, because the truth is even more beautiful. What was once considered trash has now become a companion that breathes color and laughter into your garden. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a garden corner that doesn't just grow flowers, but tells stories. Among the grass and marigolds, little houses rise, not built from bricks or wood, but from bottles once forgotten in a recycling bin. With paint strokes and pastel hues and a sprinkle of imagination, they become a village where fairies might wander at dusk, lanterns in hand, whispering secrets to the roses. Each cottage carries its own character. One is shaped from a tall bottle, its roof painted crimson red, with tiny windows peeking out like curious eyes. Another, cut shorter, resembles a round hut with a teal roof, its doorway framed by vines drawn in green paint. A line of smooth pebbles makes the path, winding gently between bottle houses, while tiny daisies bloom like street lamps to the fairy folk. There's a quiet joy in creating such a place. The process doesn't demand perfection, only patience and a willingness to play. A child can paint alongside you, adding crooked doors and cheerful dots that become flowers on the walls. A grandparent can share stories while helping arrange stones for the garden path. What emerges is not just decoration, but a memory woven into every detail. Visitors pause when they see it, their faces softening into smiles. It reminds them of storybooks from childhood, or perhaps dreams they once held about magical worlds. And isn't it the real gift? A reminder that even discarded plastic can be the foundation of wonder. In this tiny village, time slows, imagination grows wild, and joy settles gently into the soil. In the quiet rhythm of everyday life, space often feels like a limitation. Yet, with a little creativity, even the narrowest walls and smallest balconies can bloom into havens of green. Vertical gardens built from recycled bottles show us this truth. Where once there was only bare concrete or a simple fence, now hangs a living tapestry. Rows of bottles reborn as planters, overflowing with life. The beauty lies in their simplicity. A single plastic bottle, cut open carefully and painted in light tones, becomes a cradle for soil and seedlings. Tie it securely to a wall or fence, and suddenly the garden grows upward instead of outwards. Basil thrives beside parsley. Tiny marigolds peek between rows of spinach, and strawberries spill their red jewels like secrets against the sunlight. What makes these vertical gardens remarkable is not just their practicality, but the sense of abundance they create. A balcony that once felt too small for even one flower pot now carries an entire collection of herbs and blooms. Morning light slips between the rows, catching the dew that clings to leaves. Birds pause on the railing, curious at this unexpected burst of greenery in the heart of the city. There's also a quiet pride in it. Every bottle tells a story of something saved, something repurposed with care. Each plant nurtured here feels like an act of hope, proof that even within limited space, beauty finds a way. Neighbors lean over with admiration, sometimes asking, "Could you show me how to make one?" And so the idea spreads bottle by bottle, garden by garden, until walls everywhere begin to breathe again. There are fences that divide, and there are fences that invite. When plastic bottles are transformed into cheerful little bugs, a simple wooden fence suddenly becomes a living stage where color, joy, and laughter bloom together. Picture this: a row of painted bottles, each with wide, curious eyes and round red cheeks, dangling like playful creatures along the garden wall. Some cradle yellow marigolds that stretch happily toward the sun, while others let delicate vines cascade down, softening the wood beneath them. Their painted smiles feel alive, as though they're giggling with every breeze that dances past. What makes these bottle bugs special is their individuality. No two look the same. One might wear stripes of deep green and cobalt blue, while another proudly shows polka dots of pink and gold. A few carry painted words, nonsense phrases, or funny names that make children laugh and adults pause with delight. When sunlight spills across their shiny surfaces, it almost feels as if these creatures are truly buzzing with life. Creating them is a joyful ritual. You don't need more than an old plastic bottle, paint, and a little imagination. Add eyes from paper or paint, give them rosy cheeks, and plant your favorite flowers inside. Hang them along a fence one by one, and soon the once plain backdrop transforms into a vertical parade of happiness. Visitors often stop in their tracks, tilting their heads with the same curiosity as the robins perched above. The garden becomes more than plants. It becomes a story, told to the laughter of bugs who were once destined for the trash. And in that transformation lies a quiet magic, proof that joy can sprout anywhere, even from the humblest plastic. In a world that often rushes forward too quickly, there is something heart-stoppingly sweet about slowing down and creating companions for your garden. From the gentle curves of a plastic bottle emerge the most endearing residents: bunnies with pink ears, cats with playful whiskers, even a penguin with a bow tie, all reborn to guard the flowers they cradle. The bunnies are perhaps the most charming of them all. With their painted eyes full of kindness and fluffy cotton tails, they line the path as if welcoming visitors into a secret world. A bright marigold grows from one, a cluster of daisies from another, and together they turn the walkway into a lively parade. When children visit, they crouch low, talking to these little creatures as though they might reply, and in a way, they do, through color, through joy, through the stories they spark. The process of making them feels almost like play. You cut the bottle, add long ears shaped from scraps, paint a simple smile, and place soil within. Each step is lighthearted, yet the result is deeply meaningful. Suddenly, what was once discarded plastic is now a bunny that breathes life into your space. Cats with painted stripes, sheep with soft cotton coats, and penguins with tiny bottle cap eyes join the family, creating a garden menagerie brimming with character. On warm afternoons, sunlight touches their painted faces, giving them a glow as though they're alive. Guests pause, pointing and smiling, their hearts softened by the unexpected sweetness. And perhaps that is the quiet magic of these critters. They remind us that joy doesn't always need to be grand. It can come in the smallest of shapes, with floppy ears and gentle smiles, born from bottles and imagination. In the golden hush of afternoon, a figure stands watch over the garden. It does not tower and menace, nor does it frighten away with harshness. Instead, it smiles. Its round eyes, painted onto the smooth curve of a recycled bottle, sparkle beneath the brim of a straw hat. An apron, bright as an autumn leaf, wraps around its plastic frame, giving this humble scarecrow a personality that feels less like a guardian and more like a friend. This scarecrow tells a different story. Born from bottles that once carried water or soda, it has been stitched together with imagination. Its body is stacked from containers of various sizes, its face painted with care, its hat perhaps borrowed from a forgotten corner of the attic. Instead of chasing birds away, it seems to welcome them. Sparrows perch on a fence nearby, curious about this new neighbor who brings more charm and fear. Around its feet bloom marigolds, fiery orange and yellow, standing proudly as if they know they are under good company. A cloud of daisies adds softness, their white petals glowing in the sunlight. The scarecrow becomes more than decoration. It becomes part of the story the garden tells, one of joy, playfulness, and the quiet beauty of second chances. Making it is not a task, but an adventure. Bottles cut, painted, and tied together until they resemble a figure of warmth. Children can add details, a buttoned smile, a patchwork shirt drawn in markers. Each hand that helps leaves behind laughter woven into its character. And when it finally takes its place in the garden, it reminds everyone who sees it. Even the most ordinary scraps can stand tall, spreading happiness among flowers. Not every butterfly begins its life in a cocoon. Some are born from forgotten shimmer of plastic, waiting quietly in a recycling bin until imagination grants them wings. With a splash of paint and a little patience, these humble bottles are transformed into creatures that never flutter but forever bring color to the garden. Picture a patio rimmed with flowers, marigolds blazing orange beside soft white daisies. Among them rests a butterfly, its wings painted in strokes of pink and sky blue, the patterns echoing those of nature, yet carrying a touch of whimsy only human hands could give. Another, dressed in shades of gold and violet, leans gently against a stone, its wings wide open as though basking in the warmth of afternoon sunlight. What makes these creations remarkable is how real they can feel. Children pause, believing for a moment they might fly away. Guests lean closer, enchanted by the way light dances across the painted curves. And yet, they're still bottles, simple, discarded objects reborn as symbols of joy. The making of them is soothing. Cut the bottle into wing shapes. Curve the edges slightly with heat, then paint with colors that speak to you. Polka dots, swirls, delicate lines, all find a home on these wings. Attach them to a small stick or perch them among flower beds, and suddenly your garden feels alive with flight that never ends. There is a poetry in their stillness. Unlike real butterflies, these never leave, never fade, never drift away. They stay, offering their brightness through every season, reminding us that beauty is not only found in what nature gives, but also in what we create with our own hands. Step into a garden where laughter lingers in every corner, and you will find a zoo unlike any other. There are crocodiles here, but they grin wide with painted teeth, more playful than fierce. Cats lounge with painted stripes and whiskers, their bottle bodies blooming with geraniums and sunflowers. A penguin waddles in from the corner, carrying a pot of marigolds on its back, as if it were a treasure. This little zoo does not roar, but it delights. Each animal, born from a humble bottle, carries its own spark of personality. The green soda bottle becomes an alligator with eyes too round to be frightening. A milk bottle transforms into a plump cat whose painted smile softens the day. Together, they create a menagerie that feels alive, not in movement, but in the way they invite wonder. The act of making them is as joyful as seeing them finished. Scissors cut out ears, paint brushes sweep across plastic curves, and with every stroke, another creature is born. Children love to join in, choosing colors for spots and stripes, while adults rediscover the delight of play. These animals are not perfect, and that is precisely their charm. Quirky, bright, and filled with stories. Placed among flowers, they blend the real with the imagined. Visitors pause, pointing and laughing softly, amazed at how ordinary bottles have become companions to the blooms. And perhaps that is the quiet gift they offer, a reminder that gardens are not just for plants, but for joy, imagination, and the playful spirit of creation. In this zoo of bottles, every creature is proof that even what we throw away can come back to life, brighter and more delightful than before. Among the flowers and grass, a gentle figure appears, soft, round, and impossibly sweet. At first glance, it looks like a storybook sheep, its fleece white and puffy, its dark little eyes curious yet kind. But lean closer and you'll discover its secret. Beneath the cottony will lies nothing more than a plastic bottle, reborn into one of the garden's most endearing companions. The charm of this project lies in its simplicity. A clear bottle, once discarded, becomes a frame for something magical. Cotton balls or soft fabric scraps are glued around it, forming the illusion of fleece. Felt ears peek out from the sides, while a painted smile completes the transformation. It takes little more than an afternoon, yet the result feels like a friend waiting quietly among the blooms. Placed in a bed of chamomile or daisies, the sheet blends seamlessly into its setting, as though it has wandered into grays. Children adore it, running fingers gently over its woolly body, laughing at the way it seems alive in its stillness. For adults, it becomes a tender reminder of childhood tales, nursery rhymes and fields of green, memories stitched with gentleness. The beauty is not only in how it looks, but in how it feels to create. There is something soothing in crafting a creature so harmless, so soft in spirit, from an object once meant to be thrown away. In its presence, the garden gains a touch of innocence, a sense of calm that lingers like a lullaby. This fluffy little sheet proves that imagination can turn even most ordinary plastic into a treasure. It doesn't just decorate a garden. It warms it, reminding every visitor that joy can be found in the smallest, sweetest forms. Every garden has a beginning, a point where the ordinary world falls away and wonder begins. For some, it's a wooden gate. For others, a simple pathway lined with blooms. But for the dreamer with bottles in hand, it is an archway, a rainbow of blossoms crafted not from petals, but from recycled plastic, standing tall and welcoming all who pass beneath. Each flower in the arch is made from the bottom of a bottle, cut and painted into radiant shapes. Reds, blues, and whites curve together, fastened into a perfect loop that crowns the entrance. At the center of every bloom, a bottle cap gleams like a jewel, catching the sunlight. From a distance, it looks as though the flowers are frozen in perpetual bloom, unchanging yet alive with color. Walking under the arch feels like stepping into another world. The air seems fresher, the path softer, the garden beyond brighter, as though the gateway itself has whispered permission to slow down and marvel. Children gaze upward in awe, while adults linger, fingers brushing the blossoms with curiosity at how such beauty was born from waste. The making of this arch is an act of patience and joy. Each bottle cut with care, each petal painted with love, until a collection of discards becomes a crown of color. It is not a task for speed, but for presence. An afternoon, perhaps many, spent transforming what would have been thrown away into something lasting. And when it stands complete, it is more than decoration. It is a symbol, a reminder that what we create with our hands can turn even the simplest garden into a place of storybook wonder. Beneath this arch, every step feels like a beginning. There is something endlessly comforting about the image of a hen guarding her nest. It carries with it the warmth of home, the rhythm of spring, and the promise of new life. In the garden, this timeless image finds new form to the humble plastic bottle, transformed into a hen with bright eyes and a proud red comb, sitting gracefully beside her eggs. The hen herself is full of character, a round body cut from a bottle, painted white and dotted with playful details, becomes the heart of this display. Her eyes, wide and curious, seem to follow every passerby, while her yellow feet dangle sweetly over the edge of a wooden crate. The eggs, too, are reborn bottles, shaped and painted to look cracked, as though something wonderful is about to hatch. Instead of chicks, however, pansies and marigolds spill from them, their colors glowing like tiny treasures. This arrangement does more than decorate. It tells a story. It invites children to imagine a farmyard in bloom, where flowers take the place of feathers and eggs bring forth petals instead of wings. Adults pause with a smile, reminded of simpler days and the gentle humor of nature reimagined. Crafting such a piece is joyful and accessible. Bottles become feathers, caps become eyes, and a few strokes of paint bring the whole scene to life. It requires no grand tools, only a playful spirit and a little patience. And in the end, the garden gains not just planters, but companions, figures that watch over flowers with charm and quiet grace. In the presence of this hen and her eggs, a garden feels less like a patch of soil and more like a story unfolding. Each bloom a new chapter of creativity and care. There are gardens that bring peace, and there are gardens that bring laughter, Somewhere between the blooms and vines, a group of cheeky monkeys has found a place to play. Not real monkeys, of course, but bottle monkeys, painted with wide smiles, swinging joyfully on twine ropes strung across a vertical wall. Each monkey begins its life as a simple plastic bottle, painted in warm browns, accented with lighter tones for bellies and faces. They come alive with painted eyes full of mischief. A bottle cap becomes a tiny hand, gripping the string tightly, while a curved strip of plastic forms a playful tail. When they dangle among flowers, petunias spilling in white, pink, and yellow, they look like they've been caught mid-swing, forever frozen in delight. The process of making them is as playful as a result. Cutting, painting, and attaching each piece feels like crafting a toy, a reminder of childhood afternoons filled with imagination. Hang them against a fence, a vertical planter wall, or even across a balcony railing, and suddenly a plain background transforms into a lively playground. Children squeal when they see them, pointing at their favorite monkey, while adults can't help but chuckle at the unexpected whimsy. They soften the edges of any space, turning the garden into more than soil and flowers, into a stage where joy itself is on display. These swinging monkeys remind us that creativity doesn't always need to be serious or solemn. Sometimes it's about play, about giving bottles not just a second life, but a second childhood. And as they sway gently in the breeze, they seem to whisper a simple truth. Gardens are for growing not only plants, but also happiness. In the quiet hush of the garden, a pair of bright eyes peeks from between the leaves. It is not a real raccoon, though at first glance you might think it so. Its little mask, striped tail, and curious gaze seem alive. But in truth, it is a recycled plastic bottle, reborn to one of the woodland's most playful visitors. This raccoon is not alone. Beside it, other woodland critters join the scene. A fox with pointed ears painted in orange tones, a hedgehog crafted with spiky strokes, even a curious owl with wide, painted eyes, all fashioned from bottles that once held nothing more than soda or water. Together, they transform a plain patch of soil into a forest clearing of imagination. There's a special magic in creating woodland creatures for the garden. Their shapes are simple, curved bodies, painted features, a few cutouts for tails or ears. Yet their personalities shine through instantly. The raccoon, with its sly grin, looks ready to play. The fox, sly but gentle, seems to guard the blooms nearby. Each one carries a story, whispered softly through the paintbrush strokes that brought it to life. Placed among marigolds, daisies, or herbs, these critters blend into the greenery with delightful charm. Visitors often do a double take, laughing when they realize what they're looking at. And children, of course, are captivated, imagining secret adventures where the raccoon sneaks berries or the owl watches over the garden at dusk. To craft them is to step into a playful mood. Each bottle cut, each color chosen, feels like shaping a character in a storybook. And when they take their places among the plants, the garden becomes more than a garden. It becomes a woodland alive with curiosity, joy, and the quiet companionship of creatures who never leave. When the sun sets and shadows stretch long, the garden changes its language. Flowers close their petals, the air cools, and silence begins to hum. But then, like stars gently descending to earth, soft lights bloom among the leaves. They are not fireflies, though they flicker just as sweetly. They are lanterns, crafted from bottles that once held only water, but now hold light. Each lantern tells a different story. One glows golden, its cut-out petals casting patterns across the ground like sunbursts. Another shimmers with a hint of red and green, its light turning nearby flowers into jewels. Hung from a tree branch, they sway gently with the evening breeze, turning the entire garden into a living constellation. The making of them is as enchanting as their glow. A simple plastic bottle, painted with translucent shades, cut into patterns of stars, flowers, or leaves. A small LED candle or string light slips inside, and suddenly the ordinary becomes extraordinary. They cost little, but the atmosphere they bring feels priceless, warm, inviting, filled with a sense of magic that lingers even after guests have gone home. As night deepens, these lanterns become companions. They guide footsteps along paths, create soft corners for conversation, and remind us that beauty isn't only for the day. Children watch and wonder. Adults linger longer than usual. sipping tea or sharing stories under their gentle light. What was once trash has now become memory. Bottles that would have been discarded now shine with quiet dignity. They light the garden, yes, but more than that, they light hearts, proving that even in the dark, creativity can bring warmth, joy, and a touch of wonder. There is a special kind of music that gardens make when the wind stirs. Leaves rustle, flowers bend, branches sway. But when wind spinners join the dance, the garden doesn't just sound alive. It looks alive too. Made from bottles once forgotten, these spinners turn the invisible into art, twirling ribbons of color with every breath of air. Each spinner begins as a plastic bottle, cut with spiraling lines and painted in bright tones, sunset reds, ocean blues, golden yellows. When hung from a branch or pergola, the wind finds them instantly. They turn, shimmer, and spin, catching sunlight on their curves, so that light scatters across the ground like laughter. There's joy in their movement, a kind of playfulness that speaks to both children and adults. Children chase their shadows, eyes wide as the colors whirl. Adults pause in admiration, reminded of kites in the sky or pinwheels from their own childhood. The spinners carry no sound, yet they create a rhythm, a visual melody that turns an ordinary breeze into celebration. The crafting of them is simple but rewarding. Cut carefully, paint boldly, and string them up high where the wind is free to play. Each one becomes unique. Some twist tightly, spinning fast, while others curve wide and slow, like dancers moving in different styles. Together, they bring motion to a still garden, a reminder that life is not only about growth, but also about movement and joy. And when evening falls, the last rays of sunlight catch them, glowing like embers fading into night. Even then, they continue to turn gently, whispering with every spin that beauty is not stillness alone. It is also the dance we create from what the world leaves behind. There is a sound that soothes the heart more deeply than silence. The gentle trickle of water, steady and calm, in the corner of a garden. Such a sound can be born from nothing more than bottles once meant for the bin. With patience and a little craft, plastic becomes a fountain, and the garden learns a new song. Picture a set of bottles, stacked or arranged so that water flows from one to the next, tumbling softly into a small basin of stones. The sunlight catches each drop as it falls, scattering sparkles across the leaves. Around the fountain, ferns stretch their green fingers, daisies nod in rhythm, and the air feels cooler, fresher, as though the water itself has breathed life into the space. The beauty of this fountain is not only in its sound or sight, but in its simplicity. With a few cuts, some paint, and a small pump, the bottles transform into something that feels alive. Clear bottles become shimmering tears, while colored bottles add playful hues to the streams. It is humble in material, yet rich in presence, an artwork that moves, sings, and heals. Visitors often pause when they hear it before they even see it. The gentle trickle draws them closer, until they find the fountain, modest yet captivating. Its recycled origins making the scene even more surprising. Children linger, dipping fingers into the cool water, while adults close their eyes, letting the sound wash their thoughts clean. In a world that often rushes, this little fountain reminds us to slow down, to see beauty in the overlooked, to hear music in what was once trash. It whispers softly. Transformation is possible not just for bottles, but for us as well. Sometimes plants, like people, need shelter, a place to grow safely, shielded from wind and rain, yet still kissed by sunlight. In gardens where space and resources may be small, a greenhouse built from plastic bottles becomes a sanctuary of resilience, a home where seedlings dream of becoming stronger. Imagine clear bottles, stacked one upon another, forming walls that shimmer in daylight. The curves of the bottles bend the sunlight, scattering it gently across rows of seedlings inside. Tomatoes stretch upward, basil leaves unfurl, and tiny sprouts tremble with joy in their warm, protected space. From a distance, the greenhouse looks like glass, but step closer and you'll see the story written in every curve. Bottles once discarded now stand proudly as walls of life. The process of creating one is practical yet poetic. Each bottle is washed, cut, and threaded onto wooden or wire frames. Side by side, they become a patchwork of light and shadow, strong enough to guard tender plants, yet light enough to let them breathe. For those who love gardening but fear the unpredictability of weather, it offers assurance, a promise that growth can flourish with just a little care. Standing in front of it, you feel the warmth inside. It is not only heat from the sun, but the warmth of knowing that waste has been transformed into shelter, into protection, into possibility. Visitors are astonished, often asking, could this really be made from bottles? And with pride, the answer is yes. In the quiet rhythm of garden life, this greenhouse teaches a lesson that even the smallest, most ordinary things, when gathered and reimagined, can hold within the power to nurture, to protect, and to help life bloom in abundance.